you get to be a GM for a day. I mean, what's better than that? But time to get down to business here, man. We have legacies on the line in Orlando in the bubble. There's a lot of guys here that could use a title for their legacy, for their standing. It does a lot for your overall reputation. Just ask Charles Barkley, ask John Stockton, guys like that. I mean, I'm sure they would have been viewed a lot more positively if they won a title. But for today, we're not talking about Kawhi. We're not talking about LeBron. I mean, those guys are going to be top tier in the history of the NBA. No question.
Kawhi's probably already a top 20, 25 player all time, and he's barely put together the regular season resume. Exactly. A title will just keep bumping him up, but yeah, he's on the short list of best players ever.
Yeah, it's more like it's icing on the cake at this time, more like an essential achievement. But for guys that could use that, first name out of the gate, got to get out of the way. James Harden.
Yep, I was about to say it, James Harden.
Do you feel like he suffers too much criticism? Like, he's one of the greatest shooting guards we've ever seen, and all I see is just getting knocked consistently. Does he deserve that much bad?
It's controversial to say this, but you could make the case he's the third or fourth best shooting guard of all time and ahead of D Wade. You can make the case.
There's an argument, yeah.
You can disagree, which I think most people will because of the playoff resume. But he's finished top 2 or 3 in the MVP race the last 5 years.
Yeah,
could have made the case against in 2015. He could have won it. 2017 he could have won it. His teams have gotten to the Western Conference Finals twice. They're the only team to ever push the Golden State Warriors at their peak. He averages 35 last year, 34 this year. He has one of the most unguardable moves in basketball with the step back. I mean, he does have duds, especially last year, 2019 against the Warriors when KD went down. His fourth quarter, he didn't score. He went scoreless for 8 minutes. He had one of the worst throwaways end of the game. Him and Chris Paul got into it at the end. Yeah, he has his playoff flaws, but as the best player on his team, he's gotten his team to the Western Conference Finals 2 times. Mm-hmm. That's tough. I mean, that's tough to do.
Not in the West.
For most people too, you can't be LeBron, you can't be Kawhi, you can't be Shaq, you can't be Kobe. It's hard to play better in the playoffs. It is hard to do that.
I don't think people.
If you look at most stars' numbers, almost everyone has a slight drop in production. It's not just James Harden. It's just James Harden has the meltdown against
San Antonio.
Getting blocked by Manu, which is still a meme. The 27 missed threes, scoreless for 8 minutes against the Warriors. He just has those moments, and I mean, in the playoffs, it's magnified. And moments we remember more than games, and it's in series. We remember those big moments. So I understand why he has that narrative against him, which is why he wins a ring. It shuts out all those things. Kyle Lowry now is easily he's a Hall of Famer. I'll say it right now, Hall of Famer. Want to know why? He got a ring. He had that Game 7 or Game 6 performance.
Makes the difference.
Now it's like, as much as you want to bring up Kyle Lowry having duds in the playoffs, all you have to say now is, he scored 16 straight in the first quarter, and he's an NBA champion. Exactly. He's made this many All-Star games, this many All-NBAs, this many All-Defenses. He's a Hall of Famer. And for James Harden, obviously already a Hall of Famer, but you add a ring to that, a great playoff run with a Finals MVP. He's the top 25 player easy all time. And he goes he jumps way up the list, more than anyone, I think, that we've mentioned.
Dude, I mean, it's going to transform everything for him. And this is going to be weird to say, but hear me out. LeBron has kind of really hurt James Harden when it comes to how we view him. And this is what I mean by that. His usage percentages for the last 5 years, 35%, 39%, 40, 43, almost 44 last year, and then about 40 this season. Mm-hmm. The only maybe other player you can think of that has usage rates like sky high that often is Russell, guys like LeBron. But here's the difference with LeBron. He shoulders that much of a load, but he hasn't shown a drop-off. Usually he increases his level of play in the playoffs, even though he's been counted on to just dominate the ball so much and just carry those guys alongside him. So, he's had that load, but he's handled it very well. As with James Harden, he's in that elite class of usage rate, but he suffers. because he's human. LeBron's not human. He's different.
Yeah.
But with Harden, he is human. So it's like he's carrying a weight of 44% usage. In the playoffs, I'm sure it's not any lower. And then he suffers a drop off, and he's vulnerable to lapses like against the Spurs and the Warriors. And I think that's to be. I don't want to give him a pass for coming up with bad performances, but we got to understand. I mean, this guy's done so much for this team in
The
so
playoffs are
many
hard,
minutes.
man.
I mean, yeah, that wear and tear, especially in the playoffs, can really just bog you down. But I think when it comes to his resume, I mean, everything he's done over like 5, 6, 7 years, yeah, absolutely. I think if he wins the ring, I mean, that changes everything. Like he's got the MVP, he's got the All NBA, he's got the All Star games. That's the only thing he needs to catapult himself into the absolute elite. And when it comes to his position, I mean, he's going to be right there possibly just behind MJ and Kobe. I mean, it's that impactful for him, and no one else on this list, I think, is going to kind of see that kind of rise with a ring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's huge for him. But how about Damian Lillard? This is a guy, of course, that can also use a ring here. I mean, Damian, of course, is had fantastic years, but he's run into the Warriors buzzsaw. I mean, quite a few times now. Just can't get over that hump. But for him, I mean, he's already the best player in franchise history. He's made a name for himself on countless occasions. And unlike Harden, he has had playoff moments to elevate him. Key performances that have really helped his team get over the hump, game winners, things like that. But the team success hasn't been there. He's suffered, a sweep at the hands of the Pelicans. It didn't help. It's really about the team hasn't performed as well in the playoffs. And I think that says more to the level of competition he's going up against rather than just him. But going forward, I mean, can he win a ring in Portland? I'd love to see it, but that environment over there is just going to be so difficult unless they can somehow find another star of his caliber to go along with him. Like, how you feeling about it?
Lillard is a top 10 player. With Steph Curry not playing, he's the best point guard in basketball.
Agreed.
If we're not counting LeBron or Luka. But anyway, the best pure point guard traditionally, it's him. But it's weird. He gets to the playoffs every year. Damian Lillard's on your team, West, East, you're a playoff team, besides this year's injuries. But the last 3 years, it's so weird. As the 3 seed, they get swept. It's like, all right, they got to blow it up. The next year they come back, they're in the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come back this year because of the injuries, they're not in the playoffs. So it's so weird. Like, he's so good. You're in the playoffs every year with him if your team's not decimated like it was this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Was it the Warriors? Was it Damian Lillard? Was it CJ McCollum's not a good enough second banana? I don't know. Damian Lillard, the player, is so good. He's an MVP caliber player.
Definitely.
So if he wins a ring with what he's done, also being one of the greatest shooters, especially at the point guard position from deep. I mean, what he did this year, he went on a run for 5-6 games this year, averaging 50 points per game.
Phenomenal.
Like the first game after Kobe's death in LA, it's hard to even remember that it was that night because Damian Lillard lit them up.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he wins a ring, he catapults way, 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 way up the all-time standings. But it's just his playoff. Like before last year, before he hit that massive shot, it was 6 years in between the Houston shot, 5 years. Yeah. Then he started putting together after getting swept and first-round exits. Like, he's a choker. He's not good in the playoffs. And then he does the playoffs he has last year, hitting the game winner. And it's back to Damian Lillard's clutch. He's great in the playoffs. So his narrative has been so up and down constantly.
It has. I really think that sometimes when we're thinking about players and how they perform in the postseason, I think too much is put on the shoulders of one guy. I mean, when you think about the playoffs, I mean, the individual accolades, the individual aspects of players, I think, get put to the side, and they should be put to the side, and they're less important than just overall your team composition. In the regular season, it's like you can have deficiencies, but because like maybe you're just like a supremely talented offensive team, they can get overlooked and masked through the regular season. But when it comes to the playoffs, I mean, every aspect of your team, every part of your team has to be just perfectly aligned, and if it's not, it's going to get exposed. And I think sometimes it's like, well, that's Harden's fault. That's Lillard's fault. That's Westbrook's fault. That's Chris Paul's fault. And I think sometimes that's unfair, because it's all about the team in the playoffs. And your team isn't up to par. in the NBA more than any other sport, you will get exposed, and the better team will win almost every time, just because it's
in a 7-game series.
Yeah, so
it's not a single game elimination. Most times, the best team, the best player comes out on top.
Yeah, it's really tough for him, man. Like I feel like sometimes he just gets the short end of the stick, but I don't want to penalize him too much in his legacy. I mean, he's committed to stay in Portland, and it might not end up with a ring for him, but I don't think that should take away from his legacy and how great of a player he's been. Kind of like a Chris Paul, they should still get their due, even though a ring wasn't exactly in the cards for them.
Which I think people are starting to understand a little bit more how hard it is to win a ring, and that players shouldn't be just decimated if they don't end up winning one.
Exactly.
So I still think for his all-time where he's going to end up, I think for most people it's going to end up being fair.
Me too. And
now if he does win one, he's probably going to be top 30, 40 some player all time.
I think so. That's a fair expectation for him. So with the time we have left, man, let's dive into one more player. So I gave you an outline before this podcast. Like, do you still have the list of players that we're thinking about? How about you name for that list? Anybody that you just really feel could really use this man? Like, what comes to mind for you?
If Giannis wins a ring and a Finals MVP and an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year in the same year at 25 years old, back-to-back MVPs, team was on pace to win 70 games. I mean,
incredible.
Bro, we're looking at a player that when we look back all time, he might be in GOAT conversations. Like the only two players to ever win a Defensive Player of the Year and MVP in the same year are Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon.
Just elite company, the absolute.
Michael Jordan, I'm pretty sure, is the only one to win Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, Finals MVP, and a ring in the same year. So then it would only be Michael and Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
And Giannis is 25. He hasn't even hit his prime. Most people's peak is 28, 29 years old. If he, dude,
I want to see it.
I mean, Anthony Davis, obviously, the people that you sent, Ben Simmons, yes, it'll change for them. But this could put Giannis at 25 years old. Like, we're already talking him amongst the all-time greats. Like, what Giannis is doing it's not right. Like, this is not president. I mean, dude, he's probably, I don't know if you've looked at the early voting, but he's easily, MVP is wrapped. It's done. It's Giannis's. You're looking at Defensive Player of the Year voting, it's looking like it's probably going to be Giannis.
I mean, I feel like it should be, you're looking at 25. That's ridiculous.
Like, if he wins a ring this year, where do you think he is all time? I mean, Bleacher Report or ESPN already had him like 25.
Oh my gosh. See, here's the thing about my evaluation of players. I probably value this more than a lot of people do, but longevity and sample size. Like, I really look at who has been great for 15, 12, 15 years as opposed to like 6 or 7. I won't put him that high just yet, but yeah, it's going to shoot him up just in an insane amount just because of the combination of accolades. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think, isn't Hakeem in that class too of like Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, championship? I think he might be in that class too.
Did Hakeem win a ring when he won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year?
I thought I saw a list somewhere.
He maybe did. I know that for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, it's Michael Jordan and Hakeem. I just didn't know if Hakeem also won a ring. I know that Michael Jordan won a ring the same year, I believe.
Right. But in any case, I mean, it would definitely.
I mean, still, you're being amongst 2 of the top 10 players all time doing that, and you're
right. I mean, I don't know if I put him like as high as some people do, but yeah, in any case, like that does an incredible amount for his resume, and he's already getting to the point. Even at 25, people are saying like, I don't know, can he really perform at the highest level, and having doubts and like.
And when it's happening at that age, like, you're a special player. People forget last year, the Bucks won their first playoff series.
Right.
He got out of the first round for the first time last year, and he ran into Kawhi Leonard, who's probably outside of LeBron. Those are the 2 guys you're taking to be your best player heading into a playoff series right now. It's Kawhi and LeBron, and he ran into him at 24 years old without a consistent 3. Without a consistent post move. Now he has that nice little post fade that he's hitting a decent amount. I don't, dude, if Giannis wins a ring, that's a lot changes for him.
Big time. I mean, and then it's a great time. I mean, he's got the roster around him. He's got super versatile players at every position. He's got a great coach. Uh, getting to the peak of his powers. All he needs to do is knock down a couple threes a game. Just keep defenses honest in the in between area. We're talking about a floater, like a post fade, like you just mentioned. If he has that, and Bledsoe doesn't turn into a pumpkin again in a playoff series, then I like their chances. I like their chances a lot.
Who's the player outside of Giannis on your short list that you think?
As far as like legacies, like
how much would change for them?
I mean, I would love to see AD win one, man. With LeBron, that tandem there. Another guy that's suffered a lot of criticism, and I mean, he's been kind of knocking at the door of the like top players in the league for a while, but he hasn't been able to break through. As far as like current players, but I mean, a ring for him. I mean, he's also been in the Defensive Player of the Year discussion. Don't know if he will win it, but
what was that? 2017, he was top 3 in MVP and Defensive Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean,
and his playoff numbers are fantastic. It's just
big time.
He didn't get there too often, and when he did, he ran into the Warriors twice.
Yep. The Pelicans weren't set up to be a real contender. I mean, they're always a very good team, and they made some good runs. But yeah, with AD, with his just combination of defensive prowess and his elite skill as like a big man that has guard skills, offers things like handling and outside shooting and things like that. I would love to see that for him too. I mean, if him and LeBron can get one together, crazy, doesn't it LA, that gives him another boost too, because we know how we look back upon guys that played for the Lakers. They always get that kind of extra bump. So yeah, for AD, that's the guy outside of Giannis. I'd love to see.
No, I think AD he's the best pick and roll big man in the NBA with the best pick and roll ball handler and creator with LeBron. So I just think
then it's like it's just automatic. Like he's gonna finish it no matter what. It could be like 5 feet away from the basket, and he's just gonna find a way to make it happen. So best.
That's why I understand the Clippers, I understand the Bucks, but just in a playoff series when superstars really shine and you're really only playing 8 guys, 9 guys anyway.
Yeah,
and it's tough for me to see a team beating the Lakers this year because when AD and LeBron are rolling, we saw it for 12 minutes yesterday. And they combined for like 28 points, 24 points on 9 of 13.
Defenses, man. Like inside-outside combo, there's not a lot you can do about that. They're just going to impose their will.
Yeah, a lot. AD, if he wins a ring and he dominates it, he shoots up the all-time rankings, and the narrative against him completely changed.
Big time. That's the case for all these guys on our list, man, and that's why all these guys are so much on the table and why I think they're going to take this time so seriously, even though we're only in the scrimmage game so far. So I think that about wraps up our discussion, Jordan. Through all the different ups and downs we've had during our podcast here, little difficulties and things like that, perseverance is key. We made it happen. So thanks again for taking your time to join us here. Always love hearing your feedback. And, I really just hope that, for your sake and other Knicks fans, that you guys can get back to being, get back to
7 years.
2013 and, when things were happening and you had J.R. Swift. So hope that can be back soon. And in any case, thanks for joining us, man. It's always great to have you on the pod.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. One of my favorite pods to come on. One of my favorite people to talk basketball with. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot throughout the playoffs. And for you, I'm rooting for the Heat, man. Hopefully they can make some noise out there in the East.
Hey, we're for you guys, man. If the Knicks can't be there, then I guess the next best thing would be Miami.
Exactly.
But going forward, man, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you on Twitter and if you have anything coming up for us as far as content.
Yeah, for the Knicks ball, again, it's pretty dry right now. Not many Knicks rumors and draft stuff, and they're not in the bubble. So
Levine's in the news a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that. But so I don't have too much going on for the Knicks wall, but you can follow me at my personal _ Jordan Childs, or I'm tweeting a lot on NBA Unwrapped. I run social media over there for them. Run the page. I try to get some polls up, some player picks up, some highlights from these scrimmage games. I'm going to be doing that all throughout the playoffs and the restart. So give a follow over there. And again, Aaron, thank you so much for inviting me on, man. I love talking ball.
Anytime, dude. So for the business casual listeners, thanks again for taking your time to join us. We'll be back next week as we get into the official start of the season with the seeding games And of course, our content is going to be at BC Basketball 2, Twitter and Instagram. And then the link to our website with the blog posts and things like that is going to be in the description of the podcast. So until next time, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you enjoy this NBA content, and we'll be back to talk ball again real soon.